Um, so, well, we'll kick things off. Betsy, thank you for joining us. So, welcome to the September edition of the Bristol Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. Our first called meeting to order. Our first agenda item is the review and approval of the August 31st, 2023 meeting minutes. As a reminder, all of our meeting minutes, agendas, as well as all kinds of other information, documentation, things about our initiatives and other materials can be found on the BPAC's Cloud Share, which there is a link to from the town's website. So I will, Tanya, I guess we'll just not, I don't believe I can call a motion and then second it as well.
Do
So
you
as
know if
far
they're
as,
joining tonight? Did they email or anything?
no,
Or
I didn't see anybody. I have a concern about the, one of our members wasn't here last time and usually gives us the heads up after I send a note out. I didn't send a note out this time. They had not sent a note that they weren't going to be here last time either. Kevin was,
I just got my notice, I don't know, 5 minutes ago.
yeah, you probably saw it in Front Porch Forum.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is, Tanya
I
is,
think I saw it in Front Porch
yeah,
Forum.
yep. We posted it to Front Porch Forum. Betsy, we're talking about the actual committee members not showing up for the call.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah, you don't constitute a quorum.
no, no, we do not. We do not constitute a quorum, and with only two members instead of three, I don't think I can call a motion and then first it or second it. So maybe this will be the endless meeting because I won't be able to call the meeting to a close. That would be fun.
But you weren't able to open it either, right?
we can't open.
No, but we don't technically, we have just a typical, we don't use two people. We don't make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Okay.
It's just called to order. I'll check with Ian on that, but in fact, when I go back and look at all of our meeting minutes, we've never asked for a motion to call the meeting to order. So I'm wondering if we don't have to ask for a motion to close the meeting. Anyway,
Either that or none of this is official today.
well, it's we're not going to get much par for the course. We're not going to get much done. So Betsy, thank you for joining us. The second agenda item after the review and approval of the meeting minutes is public forum. We have, I don't believe you've ever been on one of these meetings with us. We have public forum at the beginning of the meeting, just in case any members of the public have something to say, but they don't want to stick around and go through all the other business and things at hand. So we open up public forum, and if you've got any issues or anything to bring before or ideas to bring before the board.
I did attend some kind of a meeting when you were showing different plans for, what was it, Munsell?
For Pine Street.
No, but
oh, that wasn't us. We didn't have anything. No, okay, we didn't have anything to do with the.
Well, I'll give you a piece of my mind.
Sure.
I feel like I did give you this before, but I mean, in my opinion, the cross hatching should be all the way across the road for the length of the road, and it should be primarily a pedestrian walkway with vehicles permitted to use it at 10 miles an hour, understanding that people, baby carriages, dogs, and bicycles take precedence, and just and make it more like what's up in Burlington, where you have basically people all over what used to be roads, but in fact vehicles can go in there to make deliveries to stores and so forth, and that you could say it's pedestrian walkway until 5 p.m. or I don't know. You could set a time, and anyway, that's what I think, and it's a road that I use basically all the time.
Mhm.
So I would be one of the people who would, need to be creeping along and,
Yep.
being aware of dogs and cats and whatnot.
Yep. That's a great idea. We will, I'm going to make a note of it. I'll add it to what we're trying to do right now is, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory on, just a very short backstory on this committee. It was formed as the result of a group of citizens a couple of years ago deciding that they wanted to do something about just making the town a little bit more pedestrian and bike friendly. And they had identified through a variety of formal and informal means that streets like Pine Street, which had no markings on it, relatively narrow, yet highly trafficked by bicycles and pedestrians, were areas that the town should be looking at to make safer in some way. The select board liked what the committee, which up to that point had been known as the ad hoc committee, had put in front of them, and they decided to make the committee a real select board chartered committee, and that's where this committee came from. The first project we were tasked with figuring out was what was called the Pine Street Traffic Calming Project. And it was going to initially be a set of advisory lanes, painted lanes on both sides of Pine Street that were dedicated to pedestrian and bicycle traffic, or I should say, the way these advisory lanes worked is not unlike what you're talking about. They are there if a pedestrian, somebody walking their dog, a jogger, a biker, whoever is in that lane, any motorized vehicle traveling in either direction becomes the burdened vehicle and has to defer to, basically it turns Pine Street into a two-direction one-way road, or one lane two-way road. It's a clumsy way of saying it, but basically it creates these lanes on the side that mean pedestrians and bicyclists have space carved out for them in a space that they use right now, but don't really, there's no lanes or anything like that painted on that at all. The select board pivoted. They asked us to look at stop signs there instead as an interim step. We presented that a few months ago to them, a plan for stop signs on Pine. And then we kind of went on our way to look at other options. Right now, we are looking at not just putting the advisory lanes for Pine Street back in front of the select board, but we also want to look at other streets to do exactly, I think, the kind of thing that you're suggesting we do. So any suggestions on streets like that you think would be good for either advisory lanes or something like what you're considering, which is a time boxed or time-based usage of those streets, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, I think that speeding, if it occurred there, would occur probably after dark, at which time you wouldn't have babies and skateboards and all that kind of hoo-ha on it. I would lean in favor of having the whole road be one usage, because I think if I understand what you said, I think that would be more confusing to more people. So that's why I would be for getting something where, in 15 words, you can communicate what the deal is.
That was the select board's concern as well. That's why they had us kind of shelve that idea, was that they were afraid it would confuse people.
I can't remember off the top of my head how wide Munsell is. Is it?
Oh, this is Pine that we're talking.
Right, but you mentioned wanting that for Munsell, correct?
Oh, no. There was a time when the public was asked to comment on things to be done to Munsell. Yep. And I thought that was the same thing. But no, I'm concerned with Pine, which I know is not wide enough to do what needs to be done and does not have the capability of becoming wider.
Right.
Or
Correct.
at least not becoming wider along that big red building, what is bakery.
Yep. Bristol Works.
But I think probably the major traffic that would use that section would be kids going to school and maybe there could be an alternative pathway for them that that wanders in between the buildings of you know, and comes out, runs along the parking lot.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, the kids don't have to stay on the road the whole time if you have a an asphalt pathway that works for all your wheeled vehicles,
Mhm.
and is clear, and that they just don't have to do that.
Yep.
Um,
Can I ask, Betsy, do you live on Pine Street?
No, I live on Maple, but I'm only 3 doors south of Pine.
Got it. Got it.
um, I'm curious if has anyone brought up the possibility, and I'm sure there'd be a lot of pushback, but why not make it a one-way street and have the space to have the pedestrians sectioned off properly?
There's been talk of that at a couple points in time. It's been mentioned informally for Pine. It's been mentioned multiple times for the Spring Pleasant West Pleasant Road.
Mhm.
Like all the way to like I was actually surprised that when the committee formed, we weren't actually told, hey, this is something you should be looking into, because there had been momentum for it. And I don't know if that momentum had come from the ad hoc committee or if it actually predated them, but we had heard a lot of talk of one-way street, that turning that into a one-way street. So
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be kind of a problem for uh the big trucks that would fuel Jackman's?
on Pine Street,
Yeah, Jackman's whole
yeah,
complex, you
I,
have to use Pine Street to get there.
yeah, I would assume that turning Pine Street into a one-way street would, you'd hear from, there'd be arguments from there'd be arguments from the town garage. We know that already because they've presented arguments against some of
You're
these
like, how would
plans.
they get out of there?
They could
You
only go
know?
one way, or
Right,
they'd have to
and
use
how would the
Liberty Road.
garbage trucks get in there? And
Yeah,
but also, you know, if you made the companies that deliver, that fill up the major tanks at Jackman's, then they're going to be wandering down residential roads
yes,
that
yes,
are not going to be so keen on that.
yes,
Right.
yep, yep,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
the
true.
way,
That's why I would vote for 2 ways, but just make them go real slow.
yep,
Yep,
the,
that's basically what we've been trying to do, and
yeah.
just are hitting roadblocks, one from the town, or the board, and then also just because we don't have enough people to get anything properly done.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, we will continue our push. We know something has to be done on Pine Street. We feel like multiple things can be done on Pine Street. So more news on that hopefully soon. But thank you very much for the ideas. It's nice to hear that you're that you were familiar with how they had been approaching this in Burlington. That was one of the places that we had studied when we were doing our initial draft for plans. Then if there's no more public forum, quarterly initiatives is on the list. Tanya, since we don't have anybody here, we'll continue to not move the quarterly initiative thing forward. And then we'll jump on to other business. I have a couple notes on other business. First one is as I mentioned at the last meeting, I had been in touch with Locomotion about doing a pedestrian and bicycle user survey of the town. Susan, our liaison at Locomotion, has done a draft of the survey. I'm meeting with her sometime in the next few days. I've
That's
gone
awesome.
through this. Yeah, it's an interesting survey. It goes, there's a lot of demographic oriented questions in it. We've got to add a little bit more about the amount of usage, the streets that are being used and things like that, because that's what I was really hoping to get out of this, is some picture of the amount of people who are using the streets and roads of Bristol on a daily and weekly basis. And so there's still a little bit of refinement to go with those questions. I'll send the link to the survey to you though, so you can check it out. It hasn't been made public yet. Like I said, we're going to add some other questions to it and just make sure some of the ones that have, I don't know, so there's some ones that are a little bit ambiguous that I don't want to trip people up with. I think they used some kind of a best practices survey or something that they had already used and based this survey off of that. So that's good to know that that's going to be upcoming soon.
Yeah, excellent. That'll be good for you, Betsy, to help us
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just would be concerned about how much demographic material you're collecting. You know, I mean, there is just so much personal data going out on the internet. You know, I'm just not crazy about that. So I don't know, like, would my name be attached? Would my address be attached? You know, like how much information do you really need? What's the level of specificity that you need in the demographics, you know?
It's a lot of it going through it here is, or I shouldn't say a lot of it. The demographic style information is related to age, gender, race. Do you or a member of your household have a disability? And then just some other basic things about where you're located relative to things like shopping malls, work, park, schools, and things like that. As far as your name being, none of those, here's the thing though, none of those things that I just mentioned are required fields. So you don't actually have to offer any of them up. The only thing that is required is an email, but I can't imagine, I'll see, they would have to, Locomotion would have to post something at the end of the survey, noting that what they were using it for, if they were going to use it for anything other than the survey. So I'll check with Susan on that and make sure that that's
Yeah, well,
not
if
going to be
the
an
only
issue.
thing that it has specificity is the email, that should be okay. And I'm assuming, like, on age, you're dealing with like decades of age, not specificity.
Yes, they're age ranges. Yes, they're bracketed.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And so the next thing, Tanya, is I've submitted two names and their contact information for potential board members for the select board to review. So I sent those to the town clerk, and to the town clerk, and per Ian's instructions, and I'm just awaiting next steps on that. I've got to query out to a couple more people because we're down 3 members rather than 2. We're down 3 members rather than the usual 2. And so once I hear from that query, which should be done in the next couple of days, I'll know if we need to ask other people, put it out on Front Porch Forum or anything like that.
Yep.
And let's see, that brings us to that pretty much brings us to the end. So if anybody, I'll ask one more time if anybody else has anything else to cover. If not, we can adjourn.
No, but Betsy, thank you so much for your feedback. It's really nice to know that there are other people that are
All right.
wanting our work to be done.
Yeah.
Do you see that you have a new person?
Yes. Hi,
Yeah.
Jim. Nice to
Hi,
see
Jim.
you.
Okay.